And we are live. Welcome, everyone, to the Melanin Initiative. I'm Dr. Kimberly Madison, a doctorally prepared nurse practitioner and one of your co-hosts here at the Melanin Initiative, along with Alicia and Geraldine, who send their love in their absence. In healthcare, there is often too much information and not enough time. Here at the Melanin Initiative, we avoid TMI by breaking things down into language you can understand. We create a safe space for you to ask your questions and share a nursing perspective without taking up too much of your time. I'm super excited about this episode. It's episode 2 of a new series that we started called Becoming a Physician with special guest Clarence, who's currently a med student. So, this is the second episode. He's already filmed episode 1 on becoming a medical student. If you haven't seen it, go back and watch it. Today, we're following up with him. We're going to be following his journey for the rest of his career to becoming a physician. He's in his second semester at med school. And so today we're going to be talking about becoming a physician, kind of finding out what it actually takes to become a doctor. We'll find out the role and responsibilities that he has as a med student, general idea of what his curriculum is like, how much time he has to spend before he can say he's officially a doctor, his involvement in other organizations and research, what his support systems look like, any mental health or challenges that he's faced in medical school, what he wants his community and the general public to know about what it's like to be a med student, and what he's looking most forward to in the future. Welcome back, Clarence.
Hi, thank you for having me again.
Yeah, so we have a lot to cover, and I just like to jump right into it here in the Melanin Initiative. So if you could just kind of give us a quick look, people who haven't watched your first episode, just tell us a little bit about you and where you're from.
Yeah, so I'm from Brooklyn, New York, and so I grew up there and then got accepted to medical school at Charles R. Drew University of Medicine and Science. And like you mentioned, I'm in my second semester of my first year, and I'm super excited. I'm happy to be there. I'm happy where I am, and they're really cultivating diversity in medicine, and I love it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm actually not really familiar with that school, so I'm going to have to look more into them. I like what you've shared so far, and I feel like we have very similar missions and values.
Yeah, definitely.
Do they have nursing?
Yeah, so Charles R. Drew is predominantly on health. So they have an undergraduate program that's focused on healthcare, and then we have the new medical school program, which I'm a part of. They have a nursing program, radiology program, PA program, and so they're really focused on healthcare. And we're right across the street from MLK Hospital, Martin Luther King Hospital, and a lot of us do our research and opportunities working in the hospital there.
Oh, that's awesome. And you were kind enough to share with us in your first episode that you come from a family of nurses.
Yeah, my dad was a nurse, and my aunt is also currently a nurse too. So, healthcare and law enforcement is kind of where my background is.
For your dad and your aunt, what were their specialties?
Yeah, so my dad, he was a ER doctor, and my aunt is an OBGYN.
Oh, wonderful. Okay. No one does pediatrics, huh?
Now, I don't know anyone who does pediatrics.
We love the children, and we're so glad for the people who specialize in peds.
Definitely, yeah. One of my mentors is actually a pediatrician, and she's great. She taught me so much.
Oh, wonderful. So if you could just tell us, what are the roles and responsibilities like as a medical student?
Yeah, so our number one role is studying and doing well. Honestly, I think my school did a really good job of providing us a ton of resources to help us study. And so, first and foremost, they always want us to make sure that we're prioritizing the studying. Outside of studying, though, there are a lot of organizations that we are a part of. I'm the president and founder of the dermatology interest group at my school, and so that's amazing. I get the chance to really network with other students who are interested in the same passions, and then any extracurricular activities that we do that are associated with the school. So we have like street medicine that we do that we all really enjoy, clinical stuff that we do, and then accessory things. I think one of the doctors that I work very closely with is also OBGYN. He owns a company called the DLF Foundation, and I'm the associate director of mentoring and grants there. So I also run the mentoring program for the school too, where I try to connect all the students with the mentor, and then all the pre-med students with the med student who wants to get into medical school too. And so there's a lot that we do.
You have some serious time management skills.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think during my gap year, I got to work on time management a lot, and I think when I first started during the beginning of my first semester, I was focused on making studying more efficient, so that way I would have time to do other things. And I think once I mastered my resources, that's when I was able to fit in time to do other things. And then just being very organized. Like, for example, Fridays when I have half a day, that's for extracurricular stuff that I kind of pack into that. And then the weekend strictly for studying. And then after school, it really depends on the day, on what I'm going to focus on that day.
Do you cook and work out?
Yeah, so I go to the gym 4 times a week at least, and then I meal prep. So I meal prep. I'll cook on Sundays and then again on Wednesdays or Thursdays, and so that way I don't have to worry about spending extra money on food. I always have food, something to eat. So
Wow, your parents did a beautiful, beautiful job.
thank you.
I know your interest is in derm, and I want you to stay there, but your time management skills are coveted. For anyone in a health professional program, maybe even law, anyone with the kind of that demanding program, the fact that you mastered it, like, man, people will pay for that. Seriously, because it took me like my whole undergrad to figure out that's 4 years not wasted, but you know what I'm saying? Money and my GPA reflect that learning curve. And if you can not help someone knock that out in like this 3-month period or 90 days, your 90 days to time management transformation, you have something there.
Oh wow, yeah, that's a good idea. I definitely learned early on the importance of efficiency when I was in undergrad, and I think that's what stemmed me. I told myself that medical school was a brand new start, and so I needed to really practice over my gap year, so that way when I started med school, I came in ready to be a completely different person.
Hmm.
Well, upgraded version of myself, which I think came with all the time management for sure.
Yeah, offline, me and Clarence were talking about we both took off a year that was a little bit untraditional than our peers, and I really can't overstate enough the opportunity that creates, because when you're in school or you're practicing, one thing you don't have is time. You
Mhm.
don't have time to really do that, and the way we both have been able to take advantage of that is priceless, right? Because especially once you start working, you can't take off a year.
Yeah,
You sign a contract that says you're going to show up, right?
exactly.
And the stress of deciding if maybe I am going to step away is stressful. So if you can take advantage of that opportunity before you kind of leap out there, that's really some of my best advice, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. I think the perspective on taking a gap year has changed for medical students, and so at some universities, actually, they prefer students who have taken a gap year, just because it gives them a chance to mature and really learn as much as they can to prepare them for medical school. And so, the average class for my class, I think, is about 27. I'm 24, and so a lot of us have different lifestyles that we're coming from. And so a lot of people that year or however many years, some people have taken 4 gap year. And so, but they come in and they're ready. And so that's it's
Mhm.
still important for development.
Yeah, even the job I have now, when I was getting hired and I said, yeah, I took off a year, there was a part of me that was kind of like, ooh, maybe that doesn't sound so great. But she actually loved it, because she's like, we've had people come who came straight out of grad school, which is already its own rigor, right? And she said they got burnt out so fast,
Yeah. Because it's
so
not
they
just about
think
the
about.
it's not just about the gap year. It's also about what you did during that gap year that's most important. Because I'll ask you, is it something that you were doing productive and taking also mental health seriously for that time period, or were you just trying to figure yourself out? And I think when you're telling the story of your gap year, you do want to be very intentional about why you took it and what your focus was. I know for me, it was to make myself better to apply, and so that was my story behind it.
I love that. That's great advice too for anyone who's listening.
Yeah.
So if you could give us just a general idea of what the curriculum is like and how much time you spend each semester, that you'll spend each semester leading up to becoming a physician.
Yeah, so each semester is about 4 months. We have classes that are put into blocks. So usually, I think in college, you have one semester is like from August to December. We have the same thing, but the difference is that in undergrad, you're taking about 3 classes for the entire duration. We take one class every 4 to 6 weeks. And so anatomy and physiology, we learned it all in 6 weeks. And then it goes according to the topic. So we've done our basic sciences, which we do the first 2 semesters, and then we switch into focusing on organ systems the last two. And so my school, we kind of do clinical, we start working in the hospital about a month early. And so we end up doing rotations about after a year and a half. And then that's when we get to go into our clinical aspect where we get to go through each specialty and really learn about the specialties where we take our exams as well. And then finally, after we get into year 4, we match and then we're doctors after that.
Okay, so you mentioned a vocabulary word that maybe some of our audience members don't know, and that's match.
Yeah, so match is basically after you finish towards your last year of medical school, you apply to a residency for the specialty that you're interested in. And so for me, I would apply for dermatology, and you have something called match day. And on that day, you open up an envelope, and then it tells you where you matched into and in the hospital that you match. So it tells you specialty and location. So you receive an email beforehand that tells you if you matched, or you don't have to apply to match. Some people want to take an additional gap year once again, so that way they can be more competitive for a specialty. But if you do, then you get accepted to your specialty. The thing about match though is that it is required that wherever you match, you go. And so you want to make sure that you're applying only to places that you do want to go because it's legally binding. But it's an amazing opportunity when you get to open it and see the specialty that you've been working 4 years for. And so it's great.
Oh, so if you could clarify for me, so you when you do apply for match, you pick your specialty at that time.
Yeah, exactly. So you're gonna pick your specialty that you want. And you're gonna pick the hospitals, and then you rank them. And then the ranking system, there's an algorithm where you rank them, and then the places you interview at rank you. And then if they kind of match up, then you end up. That's why they call it match. You guys match as terms of ranking, and then that's where you go.
Oh, so you're only just getting matched to the place. I thought you were getting matched to the specialty and the place.
No, yeah. So you're matching to the specialty and place. So when you apply for residency, you're applying for. It's frowned upon for you to apply for more than one type of specialty. So you
Okay.
shouldn't apply for like dermatology, family medicine, and OBGYN, for example, because everyone can see that you applied. So it makes them think that you're not really sure what you want. And so when you're applying, you want to apply to the specialty that you want and the place that you want. So.
And does that cost money?
Yeah, so everything is an application process. I'm not sure exactly how much it costs yet. I guess I'll find out when I get there, but there's a lot of different costs, even like traveling costs, whether you want to go. Like if I wanted to apply back in the East Coast, I would have to be able to travel back there. And even here in the West Coast, still also applying. So,
Okay, and so you spent 4 years in undergrad. You got your biology degree,
mhm,
right? You'll do 4 years in med school,
mhm,
3 for your derm residency,
mhm.
and maybe a fellowship.
And maybe a fellowship. Yeah, I think Derm is good because you can do a fellowship, but a lot of the things that you want to do, you do certificates for as well. And you can do that as an attending, which I think is exciting.
Yeah, that's cool. So I brought up a vocabulary word. If you could tell us what residency is.
Yeah, so after match, you go into residency, which is where you are officially a doctor, but you're still training. During medical school, you do a lot of learning from the books, and during clinical rotations, you get an introduction to patient care. But during residency, that's where you really focus on the specialty that you matched into. So for dermatology, you do, for example, internal medicine the first year because you have to know in general how to take care of the patient's health, and then you focus specifically on skin diseases and diseases related to that area. And so that way, after you finish 3 years, you would have seen as many patients as you can, and then you take your boards, and you're officially a licensed, board certified physician, and you can start practicing either in hospital or in private practice.
And there's more than one set of boards, right?
Yeah, there are several boards, and so from medical school is step one, step two, step three, and those are all the standardized exams. Fortunately, now step one is a pass-fail exam. Before, the score for your step one kind of determined the specialty that you could get into. So if you scored average, but you wanted to get into neurosurgery, and neurosurgery requires a really high score, it was very unlikely that without that score you'd be able to match. But I think they realized quickly that it wasn't such a good algorithm, and so they switched it to pass fail. And now you still have to take step two, step three, which are graded, but they definitely focus more on your reviews while you're in clinical rotations and what the doctors say about your performance. So
Hmm.
it's taken more into that and all your extracurricular activities too.
I see. And what's the spaced out, I guess, the interval between each of those steps?
Yeah, so between you take step one during your second year, once you're into rotation, so between second and third year. Step two you take before you graduate, and then I think step three you take either. I think you take step three during residency or before. I'm not exactly sure when you take it, but there's several boards. Then you have like core exams that you have to take during residency. So between studying medical school to becoming a doctor, there's a ton of exams that you have to take, and so you kind of get used to the test taking. So I've never been a good test taker, but after my first semester medical school, we've taken so many exams that I've learned a lot about test taking, and I've gotten a lot better at it. So if that's a
Hmm,
concern for anyone, then definitely just keep taking the test and you'll get better.
that's awesome. That certainly is a great topic for social media content. So, if you could tell us, we kind of touched on a little bit of it. Is there anything else that we haven't learned about as far as your involvement in organizations, research, internships, externships?
Yeah, so a lot of the research that I've done has either been solo research or has been research that doctors at my university have helped me with. So because we're a new university, we don't have a dermatology department, but the
Hmm.
physicians there understand how passionate I am. So they offer me a lot of opportunities. And when I come up with my own studies that I want to do, they assist me on getting that. And so I'm working on several different projects right now, and I have a faculty who's part of the institutional review board, the IRB process, where you get your projects approved. And so they really work with me to make sure that I'm able to get those. And so they're definitely a huge support system, and I appreciate every single one of them.
Yeah, is this a big school?
No, so I think we have about 700 students total. My cohort is about 60 medical students, and so that's around average for medical schools. Some go as high as like 120, but usually they're a smaller cohort of students, and so it's not a huge school, but we are definitely building very quickly.
I love how supportive it seems that they are. I really you can listening to you, you hear that through your experience.
Thank you.
So let's get into some mental health. Any I don't want to call them challenges, but I guess how has your mental health what's your mental health like as a med student?
Yeah, I think like I said, my school does a really good job of supporting us. I think there are several different barriers that you face as a medical student that can really become really stressful. One of the first things is relocation. So I relocated to LA just with my dog, and so all of my family is back home in New York. But fortunately, with like today's technology, FaceTime, texting, calling, you're able to still feel close to them. And the way that our school is set up is not it's all pass fail, which means that as we're taking tests and things like that, we're not really competing with each other. And so we're definitely a cohort, we're like a family. And so my university did is that during the first 8 weeks before we started med school, they had it's called Gateway, where you get to know all of the students. And by the time we started class, we already knew everyone. So we weren't going in to second week trying to learn everything on our own, trying to figure out who our friends would be. We really had a good connection. And the all the doctors are very friendly. They feel like family. We have our school moms and all of that, and so it's great. And one of the second barriers is the financial aspect. I think when you're going through medical school, it's very easy to incur a lot of debt, especially when you're relocating. And so I think it can be a big number to go to medical school, and that's very stressful, especially when you come from a family that's always been low income. And so as a result, it can be very stressful. But then you just remember that what you're doing in the long term is going to pay out in terms of being able to experience the satisfaction that patients give you from the smiles and really helping everyone. And then there's a ton of scholarship opportunities that you can apply for financial aid. And so it's not like you're paying these things out of pocket. You'll have to pay them back later, but that's something that you kind of want to keep in the back of your mind too. And I think the third thing is just the rigor of medical school. I mean, there's no denying that it's very difficult to be a medical student. You are learning a ton of information at once. The things that you would learn in 3 months, you learn in a few weeks. And so that's where the time management comes in, just really honing down and being around students who support you. So that way, if you don't understand something but somebody else does, it's a lot easier to have them explain it to you than have to read 4 chapters to try to figure it out. And so that's where it all comes down to. So fortunately, I've been really blessed and lucky to be able to have very stable and good mental health. And I feel that I haven't reached any point where I was just really, really down. And if I was, I just called family or hung out with friends, and it just felt better. So, and they have a lot of mental health resources at my school too, so which is great.
Have you heard if any of your classmates are taking advantage of those resources?
Yeah, so we have so one of the students is actually a certified yoga instructor. So
Mhm.
every Friday she holds a yoga classes for everyone, so whoever wants to come. And those have been very, very beneficial. I didn't do yoga until I started med school, and I think that it's definitely something that you should do if you're ever feeling really stressed out. And so it's really helpful. And then a lot of the sources are confidential, so I don't know if anyone is utilizing them, but they're there. So if they are, then commend them.
Well, that's awesome. I commend you for doing that yoga class. One of the things besides just the physical part is the breathing. Like the breathing exercises are just so great for mental health and anxiety and focusing and recentering. I use that with my patients, especially when they're dealing with anxiety and
Mhm.
fear, is I just walk them through some breathing exercises.
Yeah, definitely. And she's a great instructor, so we're very fortunate to have her too. And then just being able to utilize that. Even sometimes the professors come in and they'll join in too, so it's really nice. Yeah.
Wow, I really like this school. The more you talk about them, the more I really like that family aspect that you mentioned.
Yeah, definitely. I think that that's why it's so important when you're looking at a school to figure out what they're really focused on, and they're really focused on creating physicians who are not only competent but also human, and
Mm.
realize the importance of patient care on a diverse level, because they want the best for us and they give us the best. They give us resources, and as a result, you can see what that does. So.
You're a great ambassador for them, by the way.
Thank you.
They should be very proud of how you handled this interview.
Thank you. Thank you
Yeah,
so
you've given them a lot of credit too, actually, which
much.
is really nice. I think your mom probably feels is able to sleep at night
Mhm.
hearing the way you talk about this environment.
Yeah, she's happy, and even your family serves as an amazing resource. And I get stressed out. My mom doesn't know that much about medicine, but she knows how to make me laugh. So if she sees
Mhm.
that I'm a little serious or I'm a little tired, she knows how to keep me up. And so even your family as a resource, I think everything can become a resource if you let it and if it's positive. So you should definitely.
That's key if you let it, right? I love that. Yeah, humor is great. I remind my patients that all the time. Humor is what is it? Sugar helps everything. Is the best medicine. Helps medicine go down. And so, like I shared with you, I'm a new nurse practitioner, and so I'm going through a lot of those mental health surprises.
Mhm.
And because like I've been in healthcare. I was a nurse at the bedside for 10 years, so that's kind of like becoming a senior in high school, right? You're you know everything, or you think you know everything. You know what I'm saying? But then you go and you become a freshman in college, right? It's a little bit. It's college is great. I'm here, but now I'm kind of at the bottom, kind of starting from scratch, right? So it's been a lot of mental health surprises. And so one thing my mom does to help me is when we talk every day, and instead of saying how you doing, how's it going, we say how are you feeling, and we
Mhm.
utilize the feeling chart, and we have to pick a word off the feeling chart and talk about. That's been helpful for me, and so yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's great.
yeah. What do you want the community to know and the general public to know about what it's I guess how you're thinking about becoming a physician. What do you want people to know that you think they don't know? Kind of misconceptions.
Yeah, I think number one, the misconceptions that doctors know everything and that they can do it on their own. I think that we have a healthcare system, and that system is designed so that way we can really help each other. And so, like I don't know if I mentioned it in that last episode, but you have doctors, you have nurses, you have community health workers, you have everyone, you have even social workers, you have them, and you come into doctors with an issue, and the doctor's responsibility is not only to treat you, but also to treat what's going on in your social life too. And while they can't do that directly, they do that by redirecting you to resources. So if you're visiting a doctor and they can't help you with something, understand that there is a system for that, and they can provide you with the resources. And so at the end of the day, I feel like physicians, healthcare workers, we provide solutions for things, but the patient has to take accountability and also be willing to do those things as well. And so I think the misconception that doctors know everything, they don't. And I'm learning that. Um, as I'm going through medical school. It's more about working as a team and collaborating to be able to give someone the best care. Because the last thing you want to do is be very limited in knowledge for something and try to treat a patient to because you have a big ego, and then you treat them incorrectly. And what you want to do instead is say, you know what, I'm not 100% sure about this, but I am going to refer you to this specialty because this is what they deal with on a regular basis. And that's so, so important. Even when it comes to being in the hospital, understanding the role of your nurse. Your nurse is not just there to take care of you, they're there as an additional healthcare worker so that way you can feel comfortable to nurture you and to make sure that you're getting your medication. I mean, even when you go to the hospital, who do you spend most of your time with? The nurses. And there's a reason for that. They're the ones that are there. And so everybody has an importance, everybody has a role. And so really to respect those roles, I think is so, so important in healthcare.
Yeah, your beautiful spirit of humility. I know you're going to keep that with you, and that will take you so far, not only in your career, but with your patients, the relationship you develop with them. Patients are very keen. They have a strong spirit of discernment. They can tell when people want to be there, when they care, when they're being honest with them, especially it's some of their most vulnerable experiences, and so
Exactly.
I consider it such an honor to take care of people in those moments. And it seems like you have a real good understanding of what's going to be expected of you and your limitations. They're not bad. That like it's just you don't know everything. You can't do everything, right?
Exactly.
At the bedside, I was a night nurse for 10 years, and so I had the fortune to really talk to people and hear their experiences, a lot of their experiences. And one thing they would always say is, or what I gleaned from the conversation is that they really don't understand the different roles in healthcare. And
Mm.
so, they first they're surprised at how much time they spend with the nurse, right? That's a surprise, how much the nurse does. And sometimes people look at the time you spend with them as how much you care more than the other person who's not spending time with me, right? And how much you might know. And so I've got a lot of comments like, oh, the nurses do everything, the nurses know more than the doctor. And so I spent a lot of time explaining, we're one team, right?
Mhm.
I have 5 patients, they might have 50 patients.
Right.
Just by the sheer logistics, they just can't spend 12 hours with you like I can. It doesn't mean they care any less or that they know any less. We're one team. We work together, and we work together in different ways, but we all have the same mission and goal in mind. That's your safety, and that's helping you reach a goal that's realistic, right?
Exactly.
And so I hope through this partnership that we have, we're able to demonstrate not only how closely we work, but how much we all want the same thing. And even though we have a different education and training, we're all trying to get to the same goal.
Exactly. And it's so important.
Yeah, and I love that you come from a family of nurses. You can almost always tell when doctors have nurses in their corner. So, what are you looking to most forward to? So, I guess so. Where are we at now? How many more years do you have?
Yeah, so I'm in my first year. We'll be finishing the second semester in May. And so after that, I'll have 3 more years before I graduate and I'm officially a doctor. And then you start residency. And like you said, you're a freshman again and you start all over. So,
Yeah. So, what are you looking to most forward to? I guess let's just do med school.
yeah, I think in medical school specifically, I think the accumulation of knowledge that I've had between the first semester to now is completely insane. The amount that you learn is so much, but I love it and I love learning all of it. And we're learning it with the mission of being able to help people. And so I'm just looking forward to a year from now when I've gone through all of the organ systems and I'm in clinic and I can utilize what we learned in the books on patients and really be able to see the art of medicine. Because I think medicine is one of those specialties where it's not just a science, it's a science and it's also an art. Everything is subjective, and what you've learned, you see the patients and your experience, and it all plays an important role. And so I'm looking forward to seeing how that develops, definitely.
Oh, you explained that so beautifully. Before we close out, anything else you want anyone to know about, I guess, what it's going to be like to follow your journey?
Yeah, I hope everyone continues to follow me. I think that there is a lot of things in medicine about medicine that I really want to expose people to, especially when it comes to diversity in medicine. Like I was mentioning before, in February, I'm going to be doing a seminar on the differences in dermatologic presentations of skin disease. And I just want everyone to know that, like I said in the previous, no matter what you're going through, what your dreams are, what your goals are, you really have to stick to it and don't let anyone tell you that you can't. Because if I listened to the people who told me I couldn't, I wouldn't be here.
And I wouldn't be here talking to you. This thing that you're going to be doing, what is that like for the public to view or?
Yeah, so I'm gonna post different videos on my TikTok and on my Instagram, and I'm also hoping to collaborate with different local organizations to hold community service events where we go around and we educate the public too, both personally and with the dermatology interest group. I hope that we'll get some donations. We've gotten donations from different companies like Ultimed, Black Girl Sunscreen. They've all like donated to us, and so that's been amazing being able to give these resources out. And so we look forward to that.
What about LinkedIn? Are you on LinkedIn?
Yeah, I am on LinkedIn. I can send you my LinkedIn information. It's just my first and last name, Clarence Sams, and I have a lot of stuff on there too. So
Yeah, I love LinkedIn for healthcare providers. But you said you're going to be showing your content on TikTok and Instagram. What about on LinkedIn?
I haven't utilized LinkedIn for that resource yet. I haven't looked into it. I haven't looked into it as much, but I've been focusing on the social media platforms for Instagram and TikTok primarily. Yeah.
Yeah, what I think makes LinkedIn stand out is not only can you actually make those connections because people list their education, every place they ever worked, but also people that they know are linked. So it's like it gives you kind of like a reference point for them. But what I love, and I think after kind of talking to you for a while, I think we're kind of on the same wavelength. You're a scholar.
Hmm.
And I think LinkedIn is a platform for scholars. When you go on there, you're not going to be going down the rabbit hole on pictures of cats eating fries, right? You're only going to see things that are, we all need those moments of, we need those breaks. But on LinkedIn, it's all going to be like really scholar work and information.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to love it, actually. And I've been really impressed with the way people have really taken advantage of that platform. So, yeah, that's my tip to you.
I'll definitely research it because I've never thought of that. That's a great idea.
In fact, because I do most of my content is kind of like educational. I
Mhm.
feel I get more engagement on LinkedIn than I do on Instagram.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. I definitely do that then.
Yeah. Well, thank you everyone for watching. You can email us your questions or show ideas at tmi.melanin@gmail. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. Please share the show with your friends, rate the Apple Podcast and Spotify, and leave a comment. It really helps the show get more support and get the message to those who need to hear it. You can find our social media links and any list of resources that we brought up today in the description box. We release a new show weekly on TMI Tuesdays at 10 a.m. on YouTube and all your favorite podcast apps. This month, we're doing special series on becoming a physician and becoming doctor of nursing practice, and we're highlighting Clarence here. But after these shows air, we'll be on our little break between March and April, and we're coming right back in May with season 3, and we have some really exciting episodes lined up. We're going to be covering women's health in more detail, men's health in more detail, pain, functional medicine, and we'll do a whole special for Nurses Week. So thank you everyone for watching. Thank you, Clarence, for coming back. We can't wait to have you back at the end of the semester and see how your spring went.
Thank you so much. I'll be more than happy to come back.
We'll keep you in our prayers and in our thoughts, and we'll be following you until we meet again.
Okay. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you, everyone, for watching.
Bye bye.